Welcome back to the South Point Casino as we get you ready for game number 11 of 16 here in Las Vegas between two teams who look to prove it's not how you finished the last season, but how you start the next. UW-Stout coming into the game 3-5 after going 3-22 last year. Pacific Lutheran coming into the game 8-2 after going 8-17 last year. Pacific Lutheran looking for their second victory here after defeating Mary Hardin Baylor last night, and we get you ready for yet another game here, game 5 of 6 in our long day, the third day of the D3 Hoops Classic. One more after this one to follow, Calvin and Whitworth. Right now we'll get you ready for Pacific Lutheran and UW-Stout. UW-Stout playing their first game here at the D3 Hoops Classic. They come in with a record of 3-5. That's under 500, but it's already improvement over last year. Last year the Blue Devils went 3-22. They did not win a single game in a very, very difficult conference, but still, that had to be a very frustrating season for head coach Eddie Andrist, longtime head coach at Stout, and hoping to turn things around. They brought a very big contingent both on the court and off of it. They have, 20 different guys on their roster, and listening to one of the assistants, he said, we're going to play 15 in the first 8 minutes. In fact, one of their starters, when you make your stat sheets, he's all the way down in the footnotes. That's how many guys they've brought. And they've got almost as many in the stands in behind us who are cheering along to the Neil Diamond song and enjoying themselves with a powder blue T-shirt with the old Las Vegas sign on it. So they are amped up and ready to go, and their opponent tonight, the Lutes of Pacific Lutheran out of Tacoma, Washington. Pacific Lutheran with a nice turnaround from last season. Last season, one to forget, they were 8-17. They lost their last 4 games. They were out of the conference playoffs. They were 6-10 in the Northwest Conference. They were okay at home. They were 6-6, but they could not get wins on the road. And so their season ended short of the tournament, short of the conference tournament this year. Different story. They're actually receiving votes in the top 25 vote, and while the conference has belonged to Whitworth, who we'll see in the nightcap here tonight, Pacific Lutheran is at least 2-0 in conference to start, and with a win tonight, will match their total from a year ago. Head coach Steve Dickerson, we mentioned that Andrist has been at UW-Stout for a long time. Dickerson entering his second decade now at Pacific Lutheran. And as we welcome into our broadcast booth Justin Sweeney. Justin, you've seen Pacific Lutheran on a number of occasions from your time at George Fox. What can we expect from the Lutes tonight?
You're going to see a really slow pace, which wasn't necessarily the story in yesterday's victory in the first half against Mary Hardin Baylor, the 77-74 decision in favor of PLU. In that game, they were very content and willing to play a fast-paced, up-tempo game with Mary Hardin Baylor. It didn't necessarily work against them. They, in fact, had the lead at the half. In the second half, Mary Hardin Baylor actually closed the gap just a tad bit, but that was a game that was controlled by PLU. But what made it so compelling was that they essentially won the game in both halves with 2 different styles of play. And the style of play they play in the second half, which consists of slowing down the tempo deliberately as much as they can, that's going to consist of kind of the old school adaptation of the old 4 corners offense. They'll stretch out the guards to near midcourt at times, pass it around to the shot clock's halfway extinguished. That's what I expect to see more of tonight for PLU. The other thing that stands out to me about PLU is all of a sudden they have this veteran core of players. You'll see the junior Brandon Lester, who can light up the scoreboard, work the offense. Eric Swartout's another junior guard you'll want to keep your eyes out for. Each of those players have started each of the first 10 games of the year for PLU. And then up front, there's a lot of size to consider as well. Bryce Miller, the big man, the 6'6 senior post out of Edgewood, Washington, averaging 12 points a game and 9 rebounds per game, nearly closing in on an average of a double-double per game. You'll see his size. It's impossible to deny. He was big yesterday against Mary Hardin Baylor, and he'll figure to be a difference maker tonight.
Pacific Lutheran starting lineup, junior guard, 5'11 from Sahamish, Washington, Brandon Lester. Joined in the backcourt by the junior guard from Eatonville, Washington, number 14, 6'1 guard, Eric Swartout. Sophomore guard rounding out the backcourt, 3 guards set for Pacific Lutheran from Bellevue, Washington, Dylan Foreman. And the front court, a freshman and a senior, a 6'6 forward from Spokane, Washington, Jared Christie, and Bryce Miller, the senior, one of the seniors that Justin just mentioned a moment ago from Edgewood, Washington. Again, Steve Dickerson, the head coach of the Pacific Lutheran Lutes, A career record of 95 and 133. Had been an assistant and an associate before that. Stout starting lineup. John Keefe, sophomore guard from Medford, Wisconsin, will start in the backcourt. He will be joined by Hank Kujak, senior guard from Blair, Wisconsin, and Brett Ossenmacher, who has not played very often this season, but he's going to get the start tonight. He's from Annandale, Minnesota. Front court for the Devils, 6'7" center from Blair, Wisconsin, brother of Hank Kujak. It's Reggie Kujak. And the sophomore forward from Turtle Lake, Wisconsin, John Lochte. So the Devils, appropriately enough, their blue jerseys, and the Lutes in the white. As we tip this one off, Pacific Lutheran and UW-Stout. Two conferences that have sent a lot of teams to the Classic over the years. A good chance for them to get out of their region and see some other opponents. For the Northwest Conference to see some D3 opponents, as that shot off the mark from Ossenmacher to start. And Pacific Lutheran coming back the other way. Lutes, Jared Christie. Sweeney mentioned a moment ago, they won their opener against Mary Hardin Baylor. Northwest Conference teams have done very well here since the D3 Hoops Classic started.
And as you added earlier in the game, PLU coming off of a dreary season last year, but this team with many holdovers from last season, all of a sudden more veteran-laden and very calm, and they have jumped out to one of their finest starts in the past decade.
Lochte with the rebound for UW-Stout. He leads the team in that category. It was 6 per game. Little touch shot up and good for John Keefe, who leads the team in scoring. He's got 2, and so do the Blue Devils. They take an early lead.
This guy can light up the scoreboard. John Keefe had a season-high 26 points against UW Superior back on the first day of December, and they'll rely on him to provide a lot of offense tonight.
Looking in the post, pair of real big guys, Miller and Kujak, Reggie Kujak, as that 3 is up and good for Eric Swartout. And Swartout, who shoots 25% on the season from behind the arc, cashes in there to give the Lutes their first lead.
And that's a department where PLU will look to take advantage of. They come into this game shooting nearly 41% from the field. They limit their opponents to just 31.5% shooting from three-point range. Let's keep an eye on that battle.
Keefe, steal for Swartout there. And Pacific Lutheran coming back the other way with a 3-2 lead. Swartout swinging around Dylan Foreman. Now Swartout with a bit of an open look. Now low for Miller. Miller draws a crowd, rotated her out. And Miller calling for the ball on Kujak again. Kick out, 3 on the way from Foreman, it's good.
That's great offensive patience by the PLU Lutes. Just moving the ball around. Not really sure how the play is going to end up at times, but the Lutes so patient. And that shot clock, they really don't want to start cooking even till it normally dips under the 15-second mark. In the end, it was a clean 3-point look.
Keefe looking for some help. Swartout on him, who had a steal a moment ago. As the Lutes have hit a pair of 3s to take an early lead. John Lochte for Keefe. Keefe, good defense again from Dylan Foreman this time. The ball poked free, just 2 on the shot clock. Lochte fires it up, and it will rattle in. Just like they drew it up. Back to the basket, your power forward firing up a desperation 3. But it still counts just the same, and it's 6-5 as the tip won't fall for Miller, and Stout quickly back the other way. Kujak spins and tries to fire it off of one of the Lutes and misses and hits the basket stanchion instead.
And that was a great catch on the baseline by Brett Ossenmacher. Immediately, if the Green Bay Packers signed him, he'd be their second-best wide receiver, making a tough catch from about 45 feet out. I don't mean to go down the rabbit hole of criticism, but I think he just vaulted right ahead of Devontae Adams on the depth chart, which is not hard to do right now, but we digress much too much.
Now, Stout has had an NFL player in the past. Tony Beckham, who was a cornerback, played quite a few years in the NFL.
Well, in that case, maybe Ted Thompson should take a look at this game.
Driving in. Swartout leaves it for, well, whoever he left it for. It's Justin Thomas who comes out with the ball, and the Devils, as warned, have a new 5 out there very quickly. Keegan Dixon, as he swings it around for Jalen Patterson. Patterson, a sophomore guard from Minnesota. Into the hands of, well, one of our guys who's trapped down in the footnotes, Corey Spear, number 23. And a shot contested in a foul committed by Colton Williams out of Columbia Heights, Minnesota. So you've got Dixon, Williams, Spear, Patterson, Patterson, and Isaac Elliott rounds out the new 5 on the floor. Elliott from Stevens Point, same town as one of the other WIAC schools. 6-5, Pacific Lutheran with the lead.
And you can see the, sorry to interrupt you,
Nope,
Gordon, PLU so intent on getting Bryce Miller going as they give him a collection of entry passes, but UW-Stout with that size down low has done a good job at neutralizing him through the first 4 minutes of the ball game.
Lutes with Brandon Lester. Catches the pass. The floor general here for Pacific Lutheran. Looks like Christie who gets his first offensive touch. Miller down low. Lay it up and good. Big man with touch. And first 2-point field goal of the evening for Pacific Lutheran. Lead is 3.
And if you get Bryce Miller going, all of a sudden the Lutes become a three-dimensional, always dynamic offense, and UW-Stout will have to be honest both inside and out.
Colton Williams for Corey Spear, who sets a screen. Williams looks at a 3. Instead for Spear. Spear will take it from deep. Shot no good, and Jared Christie controls the rebound. Calling for the ball kind of quietly, trying to subtly get down to the rim is Swartout, Foreman, but his teammate didn't see him. This is now Foreman on the wing, and he'll fire up a 3. No good. Rebound controlled. Good battle there. Freshman Keegan Dixon controls the board. First 5 minutes gone here in the first half. Bryce Miller with his steal and then a throw to the 4th row of the stands. So that is a turnover. First sub of the night for the Lutes. It'll be the 6'10" junior center out of Kalispell, Montana, Garth West. And another sub. Junior forward out of Woodlandville, Washington, Kyle Sawtell. He checks in. Devils going with their second 5 for a little while. Again, one of their assistants said we're going to play 15 guys in the first 8 minutes. So with their next dead ball, they're going to have to get those fresh 5 in if they're going to make good on that. Shot up and no good for Patterson. And a rebound controlled by Kyle Sawtell. Christie weaving his way off the defense from Spear, stolen away. And back comes Patterson the other way. Layup up and off the glass. Nice touch from the sophomore, averaging almost 10 points per game. Quick, hanging, unable to hit. Free throws coming for Kyle Sawtell, who's just been to the line twice this season so far. And here comes the fresh 5 for UW-Stout.
And I'm not sure how much of that offensive action in terms of Sawtell or whoever's the ball handler pushing the ball up the floor and initiating these fast break opportunities. The Lutes are all about efficiency and patience offensively. That time he saw open space ahead and Sawtell the reward 2 trips to the line.
Sawtell misses the first free throws, and here comes wave number 3 for Stout. Sophomore guard, 6'2" from Rice Lake, Wisconsin. Number 5 is Brandon Christman. And you're going to get Jacob Nordstrom in the game, junior center, 6'8" from Melrose, Wisconsin. Freshman guard, 6'2" from Buffalo, Minnesota, Zach Dahl. Sophomore guard from Buffalo, Minnesota as well, Sam Ortman. And one other guy is in there. It's Justin Thomas, who's got the ball right there, freshman guard from, well, also from Wisconsin. So the Devils make good on their promise. 15 guys in the first 8 minutes, first 6 minutes to be exact. And this is the 3rd team now. Interesting to see. I don't know if they rotate in waves the whole game or if they'll settle on a more traditional rotation as the game moves on. 3 on the way from Thomas is good where the shot clock expires. And the Blue Devils take the lead back from the Lutes, 10-8.
Thomas, a good 3-point shooter at 39% entering this game.
Pacific Lutheran. Drive out, open look for Tyson Byrer, who's checked into the game. 3 on the way will be long for Brandon Lester. And what a play by Jared Christie, who gets the save. Check that's Kyle Sawtell. Shot off the glass, up and good. Brandon Lester for 2.
And if you make silly mistakes, the Lutes will take advantage of that and make you pay.
Lester, the team leader in scoring on the season, averaging 18.3. Yeah, a little bit of a push there, not called. Sawtell got away with a hand check. But number 40, Garth West, will not. He picks up the personal foul. It's Jacob Nordstrom, who was bumped from behind. First foul of the night on the Lutes. It's Christman inbound to the right of his own basket. Dahl off the screen. Now Chrisman will take a three, and that is good. And the Devils have hit 3 threes early on here. They have a 13-10 lead. Nothing blue about their shooting so far.
Two pretty good relative three-point shooting teams. Stout a 37% three-point shooting team. PLU again at about 40% entering this game.
Three on the way, up and good, and the barrage continues. Brandon Lester for three.
And that's Lester's second of the game.
Yeah, and he's got 7 points very early. As the pass too long for Zach Dahl out of bounds. Blue Devils turnover. Blue Devils last game, a 66-63 loss to Northwestern of Minnesota. And they're the best team in that conference. They went to the Sweet 16 last year, so that loss is better than it sounds. Normally a WIAC school and a team from that conference are generally a mismatch the other way, but not in that one. Byrer, swing it around for Sawtell. And Lester thought about triggering up another three. Shane Jacob is checked into the game. As Lester kicks out, 4 on the shot clock, deep three, up and good. And boy, these teams are feeling it right now. That's 6 threes from the two of them. But less than 9 minutes into the game.
That's just the third three-pointer made of Tyson Beerer's career. He was 2 for 8 entering the weekend, did not attempt a three last night. And he's getting a lot of playing time and coming along nicely. You can tell he's a freshman given his body, but also you see all that lanky length. Obviously, he can deliver some really great cross-court passes, and I think he's going to be ready to contribute on a full-time basis sooner than later for Steve Dickerson.
Exit wave 3, enter wave 1. As the Blue Devils will bring Keefe, Kujak, both of them, Hank and Reggie, Lochte and Ossenmacher on the floor. This is their third line, or their first line, actually. Shot is up, blocked, rebound is there, put it up and good for Reggie Kujak, who has his first points of the season, apparently, and he's got Wisconsin Stout within 1. Well, not for long. Lester very quickly back the other way. The Devils have struggled on defense this year. Opponents are shooting 47% against them. As hanging and fouled is John Keefe.
There you see again the young freshman factoring into that situation. They challenged Beerer and tried to elude and get the first step on him, and all Beerer could do was ride his side.
Lester's going to get a break. Dylan Foreman returns. John Keefe's points per game are even more impressive if Stout plays this kind of everybody gets 3 minutes kind of offense. He's not getting a lot of turns through the lineup, so to speak.
It's almost like watching hockey played on wood.
There are other teams that do this. Brockport State used to run this system. John Carroll for a long time has run 5 in and 5 out. Grinnell has done it with obviously a different style of offense. That free throw is up and no good for John Lochte. And it fascinates me because I'm not sure. I guess you build great chemistry with the other 4 guys on your line, but if somebody gets in foul trouble, someone gets hurt, you wonder how it all plays out. 2 free throws, good.
And a lot of coaches, mainly maybe Carthage's Tim Bernero on the women's side, that's a luxurious problem he would love to have.
He runs 5 guys too, but that's because he only has 5. A bit of an exaggeration, but not a whole lot. I did see a men's team last year who had 5 players and actually was pretty solid. They ended up winning their conference. Alvernia out of Reading, Pennsylvania, as there's a jump ball. 18-15 here. Well, that's what the scoreboard says. I think it's actually 18-17, I believe.
That's the line of the week.
Yeah. So let's see if the scoreboard catches up or if I'm just overly generous to Stout. 3 on the way. No good. Hank Kujak battling, Keefe battling, and ball is flung out into the hands of John Lochte. Kujak, 3 on the way, short off the rim, no good. And for Ossenmacher, and a foul. It's Reggie Kujak. I think he's going to pick it up. Nope, just going to be Lutz basketball. So 18-17 we think, although the scoreboard continues to say 18-15. Drive down, hanging, shot, no good. And Garth West will make his way to the free throw line where he's perfect so far this season.
And again, you see that nifty setup by the freshman Tyson Beer creating an open opportunity, and he really makes this offense go. There's a lot of veteran guards that Steve Dickerson relies on, but it's a bonus when he's able to put Beer in there, and he's been pretty productive when he's on the floor in this game so far.
West misses the free throw. Pacific Lutheran struggling from that spot so far on the season. They are an excellent free throw shooting team, 76%. That is outstanding.
Can't really top that.
Northwest second one coming, and I think Eddie Andrist is noticing the same thing I did. They don't have the score right again.
Well, if you're going to appeal, better now than after the game has subsided.
Better to do it now, exactly. Earlier, a point was just added to the St. Vincent score in the women's game. It ended up being a tie game and going to overtime, so it loomed very, very large enough that Carthage's coaching staff was actually asking if they had the ability to appeal the final score, and we're told by the officials here that they don't. They had to be able to appeal it at any time during the game to make it a correction, but once the game is final, the game is final.
Well, you don't want to, pin everything for an entire season on one event in December, but Carthage, who's now dropping to 4-6, they're trying to fend off some injuries, learn to play with the very young team. They'll figure to be competitive in the CCIW. Who knows if they re-achieve big-time success in the CCIW. If they're in the running for an at-large bid, that game could loom very large, given their play against D3 teams outside their conference.
Yeah, 4-7 now for Carthage, and they split the difference for Stout. They give them one of two, so 19-16 is the official score. Swartout hands it off. Lester back in the game and on the floor.
One of the easier calls of the day their three-person officiating crew should have to make.
Yeah, the officials have done a real nice job. One of the guys who was working that last game, Gary Horkey, worked the first women's game, the first men's game. We'll pick that up later. And then 2 high school games down the road from here. So he had a 4-game day. We have a lot of games too, but they do a whole lot more running than we do.
Plus the travel between buildings.
Yeah. Christie gives it up for Lester, who's got 7 early points. Pass gets deflected, so Swartout will collect, or Foreman will collect. Goes to the rim for 2. And maybe one of the things you see from running 5 guys is maybe that has the impact on the defense, where there's confusion about who's picking up whom and
lack of continuity.
Yeah, lack of communication. That could contribute to the fact that teams are shooting almost an unworldly, almost 50% against them on the season, and you've seen Pacific Lutheran get a number of easy looks here so far tonight.
Yeah, there is that paradox, and while you want to keep everybody on the floor fresh, you also want to work up a lather at some point of the game and get that feel for the game. And once you start to, get the rhythm, get your hands on the basketball, all of a sudden you're back on the bench, almost maybe wondering what just happened and when will it happen again.
Christie, shot, count it, and he'll go to the line for a 3-point play. Correct the scoreboard. Scoreboard's wrong on RN that time. Added points to PLU instead of Stout. 23-16. Stout hasn't scored in a little while now. And Christie at the free throw line. Nice little run here for the Lutes. Keefe driving, hanging, and hitting. Ends the drought for Stout. 24-18, 8:13 to play here in the first half.
That was an 8-0 run for PLU that was just brought to a close.
Swartout dishing down low. Good effort there from the Devils to get back and tip that away as the second team has come back in here.
This is just such a classic PLU game. 3 turnovers, low turnover totals, 8 of 13 field goal attempts. Not a whole lot of field goal attempts, but when they do hoist one up, it's going to be a good result. And again, a close range shot from 2 feet out created by effective penetration.
So second team for Stout. Actually, they'll mix it up a little bit. John Keefe stays on the floor, so he's from the first team. You got Patterson and Justin Thomas and that crew back out here. Drive in, Keefe. Rotated around. Patterson hangs and hits. Second basket of the night. A 30-second timeout called for Wisconsin Stout. Pacific Lutheran on top, 26-20. We'll actually keep it here as this is a short break and then come back. Now, Pacific Lutheran out of the Northwest Conference, Sweeney, that's a conference that after a long period of dominance for Puget Sound has been all Whitworth. Whitworth, number 2 in the country. But some of the other programs there have gotten better. George Fox has improved. Pacific Lutheran season to season. The one thing you don't notice as much, Whitman will have a season here and there. It seems like Whitworth is at the top of that conference and in the mix every single year, and then the teams below them sort of seem to churn a little bit.
Every year you go into the picture and you think, this is the year that one team finally finds a way to usurp Whitworth. But what Matt Logie has done in such a seamless transition from Jim Hayford a couple years back when he elevated a Division I Eastern Washington down the road in Cheney, Washington, they never lost a step, and now with the reputation that Hayford laid out, Logie has continued. It's really a great D3 destination. Spokane, a solid college town. Whitworth, a great place to get an education, and it's a winning program at Whitworth, and you know you're going to be in the NCAA tournament when you sign on to become a Whitworth Pirate. Now, Eric Bridgeland's done a great job at building something neat at Whitman. It's a little tougher to recruit at Whitman with such strong, probably the strongest academic standards of any of the 9 teams in the Northwest Conference. But yes, year after year, it's one team, and you can't forget Willamette, who was here last year with Kip Ione.
Yep.
They finally made their way into the into the Northwest Conference tournament as well. But we'll see Whitworth tonight, and I think after seeing them play Calvin, you'll see why this team has been the standard in the Northwest Conference over the past decade or so.
3 on the way. Up and good. Well, Spear thought he was short. He immediately started running after he released the ball, but it is nothing but nylon, and Devils have shot well from 3. They've got 4 threes. Not a lot of field goals from within the arc. They trail by 5.
It's a new game, Gordon.
Yeah. 6:33 on the game clock, 10 on the shot clock. Miller down low, good spin move, can't finish. Fighting for the rebound. Christie comes up with it, and there's going to be a foul on the floor. One thing you don't have to worry about with the rotation is foul trouble for Stout. 1-and-1 coming here. Christie to the line. See who they give the foul to.
Well, the box score really reflecting the shuttling in and out of multiple players, 15 deep. Stout has 3 different players who have all scored 4 points, then 3 different players who have all scored 3.
Colton Williams grabs the rebound off the missed free throw. He averages 4 rebounds per game. Devils trying to make some headway. Tough shot, no good rebound there by Keegan Dixon. Keefe for 3, no. Off the back of the rim, and Christie with yet another rebound. Christie averaging 6 per game, and he's 7 per game, and he's more than halfway there. 3 from Lester, won't roll home. Dixon another board for the Devils. Devils looking to push. Swerving in, and Spear is going to get called for the offensive foul. So no basket, and a Stout turnover, and now Stout starting to make some substitutions at a more traditional pace. Isaac Elliott will check in. Well, hold off, maybe not so much. And here comes Hank Kujak also off the bench. And a timeout, it is a full. We'll step out with him. Pacific Lutheran 28, Wisconsin Stout 23. This is the D3 Hoops Classic. Welcome back, Pacific Lutheran and UW-Stout. Stout not quite the last team to make the play their first game of the Classic. That will be our next two, Calvin and Whitworth. Will be the last teams to play today and the last teams to play their first game. Lots of men's action tomorrow, 4 games. First one's a women's tilt, St. Vincent and University of Laverne, and then 3 men's games. Mary Hardin Baylor and St. Vincent will be back on the men's side. Skidmore as well. Pacific Lutheran will finish things up here tonight as that shot's no good. And Colton Williams with another rebound, but good steal there by Bryce Miller. Trying to reward the big man, but not enough space to work down low. Miller's got a significant size advantage on Colton Williams, who's 6'2". There is Miller calling for the ball. Inside, outside, around the arc. Pacific Lutheran crisp passing. Foreman for 3. Yes, sir.
Amazing finish to that offensive set by Pacific Lutheran. I'm still not sure whether the objective is to create a good shot or just make UW-Stout run around as much as possible. The passes, none of them were fancy. They were just all crisp and on point, but the end result, UW-Stout having to cover so much ground, and finally, maybe they just run out of gas and they can't contest the shot in the end.
Little give and go that never materializes, stolen by Jared Christie, who's had a real nice first half. Christie's, wow. Well, you can't finger roll, says George Gervin, as that one ends up going farther away from the rim than when he first took the shot. Free jumper on the way, no good for Jalen Patterson, as the Devils continue to struggle to find their range here in the first half. They still within reach, down by 8. Pacific Lutheran with the ball.
Normally you can expect this to happen in the second half, but normally in a game when the Lutes get to an 8 to 10 point lead, they slow things down even more so deliberately than already thought.
Trying to run the clock out with 24 minutes to play. Patterson. Oh, that's a big missed opportunity there. Chance to stop the pain. Actually, Williams on the pass from Patterson didn't get it. We're going to get 5 fresh guys. Going to be a different mix though. John Lochte and John Kiefer were in that first wave come back.
It's funny how head coach of PLU Steve Dickerson has really bucked conventional emerging wisdom. This PLU team, it's the closest thing you'll see in 2015 to a team that plays without a shot clock. They will churn away at that thing, and at the other end, when 90% of teams want to get a shot off in the first 8 seconds of the shot clock, it seems PLU's the kind of team that's happiest when it gets a shot off with less than 5 seconds on the shot clock.
And remember, that comes later this year because the shot clock, or comes quicker this year. The shot clock is 5 seconds shorter. So that's 5 less seconds every possession that Whitman has to work with. But you haven't noticed it from their offense. It's clicking right along, and there's yet another 3. Driving in, Sam Ortman, who's checked in. Back in, I should say, for the Blue Devils. Brandon Chrisman trying to drive, working. No, can't hit the fall, but Chrisman heads to the free throw line after trapping Eric Swart out in the air. 34-23.
It's a good effort by Brandon Chrisman, the sophomore guard out of Rice Lake. And you're wondering UW-Stout shuttling players in and out, and you're wondering what the offensive identity, or at least tonight, is going to be for UW-Stout. Do you attack from outside? Do you assume your penetration game? Do you try to get one of the big men ignited down low? And Chrisman just got it down low, forced it up from close range, hope for the best. And maybe the free throw line is where the business can begin for UW-Stout.
Pair of free throws good for Chrisman. Limited appearances from that spot so far this year. Corey Spear, the junior from Elgin, back in the game. Elgin, Minnesota. It's the Lutes working around the arc. It's Jared Christie. Flashing to the left post, but they'll try to the right side instead. Lester for Miller. Miller got a size advantage on Lochte. Back for Lester. Lester 4 on the shot clock, down to 3. Off-balance shot. Misses everything, and Keefe grabs the rebound. Getting back the other way. Keefe dishing, driving, layup. Won't fall for Lochte. And another point-blank miss for the Blue Devils.
Now, Stout is going to wish they had that one back, but it's a great win for UW-Stout. One of the first times they've been able to initiate that transition offense, get the ball up the floor, and see what might occur.
Driving to the rim is Dylan Foreman. He is fouled, and he'll head to the free throw line. Foreman, not the guy you want to foul, an 88% free throw shooter, so among the very good shooting free throw team, he is the best.
The benefit of using 15 men deep and throwing players in and out of the game on a continual basis is the conditioning battle, winning the conditioning battle, and being able to run up and down the floor. So if you're going to run, you should take advantage and try to push and see what might happen.
This is a guy that Coach Dickerson really likes. He's been basically a starter since he got there. 36th game played, 34 starts for the sophomore. And he drops that free throw home. Got them both. This is usually the case. 36-25. Blue Devils bringing the ball up the floor. They hand it off. Pass down low looking for Lochte. Ends up being eventually corralled and controlled by Pacific Lutheran Seth Anderson, who's into the game for the first time from Post Falls, Idaho. So they got a guy from Montana and a guy from Idaho. Driving in. Lester has it stripped. Good steal there. Ossenmacher, Keefe. No. Follow. No. Lochte can't get it to sit. Keefe gets the steal. Jump ball, possession arrow in favor of Wisconsin Stout. We'll credit them for effort, but it's like there's a magical cap on the rim preventing anything from going through.
Yeah, it's hard not to get frustrated if you're a UW-Stout fan. A lot of great looks over the last 2-3 possessions or so, but the rim just not letting that ball plinko down right through. But I like the way UW-Stout has continued to attack, push the ball. That's where all these good opportunities are materializing from, getting those turnovers in the open floor. And again, the rim's so unkind.
4 missed shots in a row for Stout, and they've all come from 3 feet in. As Keefe misses there.
All shots that were nearly halfway down at some point.
Yeah. Brandon Lester will run a little clock. Shot clock at 14. Lutes in control. They lead by 11. Anderson for Foreman for 3. Got it. Foreman on fire here in the first half, and the Blue Devils down by 14. 3 from the near side corner. Too long, and all white jerseys battling for it. Seth Anderson running the break now, and Lester will short circuit that, pull it back out. 24 on the shot clock, and inside the final minute of the first half here. Anderson.
That's an ambitious shot.
Anderson got his man in the air and then tried to bank it in from the other side of the glass. If he would have hit that, that would be an H for everyone here, I'm pretty sure.
Well, the Lutes, they don't waste possessions, and that's one of the first times tonight that one of these particular Lutes has tried something, I guess by their standards, relatively wild.
Yeah.
But even when they do get away a funky-looking shot like that, it still benefits them. They get a trip to the free throw line, so it's a worthwhile trip.
Anderson's only played 1 game. This is his second one this season, but it was a solid effort. 10 points, 2 rebounds, an assist, and a steal. And Anderson puts himself in the score sheet here.
One of my old roommates was named Seth Anderson.
I think a lot of people have been named Seth Anderson. That seems like a pretty common, that's a very common last name, and seems like a relatively common first name,
Another
too.
Idaho product, by the way.
Oh, really? Well, that might not be as common. 41-25. Keefe with 20 seconds on the shot clock, 32 on the game clock. And kickball off the feet of Jared Christie. It will stay Blue Devils basketball.
And if you want to know the story of this game, you look at the score, and my instant conclusion is tempo. This is a PLU tempo game. They've slowed things down. UW-Stout has not been able to run and push the ball the way they've envisioned. Meanwhile, PLU just working down the clock, as that was an odd pass there. I don't know if he was running out of time or what, or if that was simply deflected. But PLU, they've been patient with the ball, and with less than 10 seconds on the shot clock, most of this night they've gotten what they wanted.
So Stout with the turnover off the attempted inbounds pass. PLU 41, Wisconsin Stout 25. Pacific Lutheran going to run this all the way down, I think. Brandon Lester will take the 3. No, but Christie for the rebound puts it up and in, and that is the way the first half will come to a close. A very impressive performance by Pacific Lutheran in the first half, and they are comfortably in front, 43-25. Let's go to Pat Coleman with head coach Steve Dickerson.
All right, thanks a lot, Gordon. Well, Coach, they threw wave after wave after wave of guys at you, but your team went really well through the first 20 minutes.
Yeah, we played pretty well. We're not playing very good defensively. They've missed a lot of layups and such, but, yeah, we're moving okay. We're moving the ball. We're doing what we do, so we just got to keep doing it.
That sounds like your entire halftime adjustment right there.
Well, there's a little more to it than that, but, I don't like to get too technical. If we just do what we do, and we know, the kids know what we're supposed to be doing, just do it and we'll be fine.
All right, thanks a lot, Coach, and good luck in the second half.
Thank you.
Back to Gordon.
Do it, and doing it right. Something tells me Coach Dickerson that song is not in his iPod, but it is in his.
Neither was "Push It," which I heard emanating from the PA loudspeakers earlier in this game.
Well, they're doing it and they're pushing it, and they're up 43-25 at the break. We'll take about a 13-minute stop, and then we'll come back with your first half statistics and get you ready for the second half of this one. Pacific Lutheran and UW-Stout at the break.
difference, but all in all, PLU is just doing nice, solid, consistent things all across the board. You do good things in each and every category, and that builds up, and it's translated instantly into this 18-point lead.
54% shooting in the first half, and 54% shooting from behind the arc for Pacific Lutheran. As, again, Foreman has the hot hand here. He had 15 points in the first half. Starters back out there for, well, actually, check that. It's a mix of players on the floor now for Stout, and we'll tell you who those guys are in just a moment. The starters are out here for Pacific Lutheran. Miller, Lester, Foreman, Swartout, and Jared Christie, who played the majority of that first half. This is Lester. Lester had 7 points quickly in the first half. As the Lutes reset now. Shot clock down at 7. Extra pass, 5 on the shot clock, 3 on the way. No good, and rebound. But chased down, but Patterson saves it to the wrong team, and the layup is up and good. And just like that, the Devils hang on through the whole score, through the whole shot clock, have a chance at a rebound, and end up turning it into 2 points for Pacific Lutheran.
Yeah, that's about the most crushing possession you could possibly have. You work down that shot clock, you get the necessary stop, and then flailing out of bounds. Given a great effort, but he just threw it away in the wrong spot, was Colton Williams, and PLU gets the easiest look they couldn't find in the first 30 seconds of the trip.
If you're just joining us, Stout ran 3 different waves of 5 players each in the first half. Now they've got a mix of guys out there, as you've got Jacob Nordstrom, number 13, that's Brett Ossenmacher. You got number 23, that's Corey Spear, John Keefe, and one other guy on the floor. It's Colton Williams of the 5 to start the half here for head coach Andrist. 45-27. Lester. Foreman off for Christie for 3. Why not? They just don't miss from out there.
2 in a row now for Christie. The first one really easy on the pass out of bounds. That went right to him point blank at the hoop. This one, a long look at the bucket.
8 of 14 now from behind there. 8 of 15 behind the arc. They're 1 for 2 this half, and a jump ball possession arrow in favor of Pacific Lutheran. And here comes the second wave of the second half.
But I like what Stout's doing now. We saw it on the prior possession when it was Ossenmacher who drove to the hoop, got a bucket, and this time you see attacking from the right side, John Keefe. He draws the foul in the act of shooting. So you see signs of Stout starting to get to the hoop. Maybe it was something that Eddie Andrus conveyed to them at the halftime break. Guys, we've got to get to the hoop and see what might unfold from there.
I thought the signal was a jump ball. It ended up being a foul, and so Keefe at the free throw line hits the first one. You got Hank Kujak, number 33, back in the game. You get number 24, Sam Ortman. Here comes Jalen Patterson back into the game. He replaces Keefe. And John Lochte rounds out the new 5 on the floor for Wisconsin Stout.
You know, one possible answer that might be to this offense that's so concertedly trying to work down the shot clock and kill the clock for the rest of this game is just stop the clock. And you do that by getting fouled and moving to the free throw line in essentially freezing time.
Well, and like some of our other games here tonight, Stout, to the extent they are hanging in this game, it's been because of free throw shooting. They've not been able to score a high percentage from the floor. Christie collapses the defense, 4 on the shot clock. Lester will have to get something off, and it rattles out, and a foul on Wisconsin Stout. So
this
second
is just
time they that's as good as you're going to do. All the passes for Pacific Lutheran are safe and around the perimeter, so you're not going to get a steal.
It's confounding what Stout's, or it's got to be confounding for Stout. You get the stop again with a shot clock under 5, and then a foul is drawn just like that. A second chance reprieve for PLU offensively.
Foreman with an uncharacteristic quick shot on the shot clock. 30 seconds on the clock, or 20 seconds on the clock when he fired that up. And it's no good, and Stout will try and make some headway here, trailing by 18 in the second half. Well, pass kicks off the shins of Keegan Dixon.
And look how aggressively PLU is able to be defensively. As this three-pointer's up, UW-Stout needed that. But the Lutes on the offensive end, now there's still a lot of mental energy being conveyed, but there's not a lot of exertion going on except in these transition opportunities as that three-pointer's up and off the mark. But the Lutes, when they're just spending, 15 to 20 seconds moving the ball around, you're able to save more of that energy for the defensive side of the floor.
Patterson has it stripped as he heads to the rim. Sam Mortman, who just hit that 3, he's 6 of 19 on the season, so shooting a pretty good percentage, and a 30-second timeout taken by Coach Dickerson, who's been a coach for a long time. He's been at Pacific Lutheran for 10 seasons. He was an assistant and associate for 3 seasons before that. But he was a high school coach in Ohio for 33 years and a head coach for 19 with 200 wins in a state final. So he's coached for a long, long time.
Yeah, it's quite the career shift. Spending all that time out in the Midwest, coaching high school basketball for nearly 30 years, but his roots are out here in the Pacific Northwest, a product of Washington State. And it's been slow treading for PLU, but he's had a lot of consistency with them. And this year, he's turning out a pretty good product, it appears.
Wisconsin Stout back out on the floor along with Pacific Lutheran. Whitworth will take the floor tonight. A lot of Northwest Conference teams have come here to the Classic. Always enjoy having them.
I thought last year, go ahead, Gordon.
Oh, no, that's it. Go ahead.
I thought last year when Willamette appeared, they were coming off of a pretty dreary season, and they had 2 strong performances here. First against Wisconsin Lutheran, a game they lost at the buzzer, and then another game that they performed well in. But I thought that those 2 games here in Las Vegas last year acted as a catalyst, and Willamette made the Northwest Conference tournament for the first time in about 5 or 6 years. And it was a really good launching point for Willamette, who showed signs of promise and never looked back.
Now, thinking about the programs that have appeared here, we've seen, I think, every Northwest Conference school, nice move by Miller. Every Northwest Conference school has sent one of their programs, men's or women's, except for Pacific and Puget Sound. And Puget Sound will cross themselves off the list next year because they've got their women's team committed here. But all the others, Linfield, George Fox, Whitworth, Willamette, and Pacific Lutheran now, have all had one of their programs here. So they... word's getting around that they like it. And actually, much the same can be said about the Wisconsin Intercollegiate Conference, as they've had a bunch of their programs here as well. Platteville has been here. Eau Claire is committed for next year.
Yeah, we saw the Platteville women here last year.
Stevens Point, Whitewater women have been here. Stout women have been here before the men. Superior, while they were in the conference, was here. So pretty much crossed all their teams off the list, too. Free throw up and good.
Now, pardon this bad joke, but does Superior leaving the WIAC make it an inferior conference?
No, it probably makes it a better conference. No offense to Superior, but the WIAC is it's an interesting and fun argument to have what the best conference in Division III is, but the WIAC has got to be the top conference.
Certainly.
Well, yeah, it improves 2 conferences. The UMAC, which is the conference Superior moves to, the Upper Midwest Athletic Conference, which had a win percentage of 14% out of conference last year.
One more stupid comment of the night as Bryce Miller powers it home. Just a great look from him, and again, it's about as efficient of a shot as you can get. Can they rename the UMAC the Bon Iver Conference? I just picture like 9 to 12 teams all playing in large log cabins, all muddled in the northern counterparts of Wisconsin and Minnesota. Terrible idea, I know, but food for thought, perhaps.
He can open for him at the conference tournament.
Yeah. Hey, I'm from Alaska. I know about lack of civilization better than any of you. That's why I feel I have freedom to poke. The cheese is better in Wisconsin, north to south, than it is in the state of Alaska. We got the Matsu Farmeries, and that's about it.
Yeah, you got the salmon. 51-33 here.
I think we forgot we were calling a basketball game.
Well, it's been we've been kind of stuck at the 16 to 20 point lead for Pacific Lutheran, who's really controlled throughout the night. And there's another free throw there to push the lead a little farther. Is Petty at the free throw line, or excuse me, Christie at the free throw line. He's a business major. Season high before tonight was against Trinity of San Antonio down in Texas.
Still seeing some signs of life, though, from Stout so far. They're starting to attack inside, and that's the way you got to go at PLU, and do it relatively quickly as well.
We said this is a Stout program that needs to kind of rebuild from the ground up after going 0-16 in conference last year and 3-22 overall.
I think next week at work I'm going to send out a mass apology email to every SID in the UMAC.
You're going to be dealing with these people, so you better do that. New player in the game for Pacific Lutheran, Marcus Mitchell Glenn, sophomore guard from Spanaway, Washington, checks in. And Glenn has played very sparingly this year, so Coach Dickerson seeing some chance to get some other guys some minutes. Also, Tyson Byrer is back in the game. Keefe, nice look, dish, but can't finish. Follow, no. Reggie Kujak still working hard. And the Devils will see Kujak go to the free throw line. Kujak and his brother, I would imagine, although they're both seniors, so maybe not.
Twins, perhaps.
Well, 35 and 33.
Twins with a 5-foot height difference.
I was going to say.
So then you
It's
become
certainly
more
not
dubious.
identical twins, if that's the case. Reggie rattles it home. It's actually, again, first free throw attempts of the season this weekend for Kujak, who's played sparingly. This is 4th start, 5th game overall. And Kujak cans them both. 53-35, 13-37 to play as Byrer brings the ball up the floor along with Lester.
Laudable strategy here by UW-Stout to unveil the full court press against PLU. If they're going to slow down the clock, might as well make it a journey up the floor for PLU so they, again, have to expend additional energy setting up the offense.
Christie over for Lester. 3 on the shot clock. Lester starts his move. 2, floater. Oh.
What can you do?
Heart ripped out of the chest as Lester floats it off glass as the shot clock expires.
That's a shot you're probably happy with him taking.
Yeah, he's got that. They've got that down to a science. I haven't seen a Division III school as good as setting up shots late in the shot clock and getting quality shots off. As a foul will send Stout back to the free throw line.
This is a good strategy, though, what Stout's doing. They got to the line in 11 seconds taken off the shot clock. Reggie Kujak starting to get a little more enlightened here as we trudge forth in this second half.
Now, Reggie does double duty. He's also a member of the football team, Wisconsin Stout, and that would explain why he has the relatively limited number of games.
Also, after this
got
game,
that
he
break
needs.
in between the seasons.
Also, after this game, I'd recommend he comes over to the table and take care of all of us. His major is vocal rehabilitation, which is something we'll all need after this very busy day.
55-36. Poked away out of bounds. Last touched by Isaac Elliott. And it will stay Pacific Lutheran basketball. 55-36. Byrer. As Wisconsin Stout bench 1 on a 5-second count. Drive, shot, no. Kujak. Reggie with the rebound, not his brother Hank.
Here's an opportunity to push it.
And a chance to get this within 18 for the first time in a while. Keefe for Kujak. Kujak spins, drive, off glass. Nice move by Reggie. And his team now down 17. Still plenty of time, 12 minutes to play. Lester. A little collision there. Yeah, a little bit of got away with a push on Corey's spear.
It's one of the rare instances you can't just necessarily eyeball the stats and make conclusions. Reggie Kujak coming into this game, just 3 games played, as it was Justin Thomas going splishing and splashing along the PLU sideline. But Reggie Kujak comes to this game averaging literally no points, and tonight he's going off, particularly in the second half.
Jacob Nordstrom checks in, 6'8" center. Probably was the starter in Kujak's absence. If you look at how many games he started 4. Coming back the other way, Keefe, tough shot, won't fall. Tyson Byrer going to pick up the personal foul. Beerer picks up the foul. The Stout fans agree, not surprisingly. And Keefe misses the first free throw.
Stout needs to start hitting some of these free throws, cooling off. They were 3 for 4 in the second half, didn't get to the line all that much. And they're starting to get there with regularity here in the second half.
Keefe among the nation's leaders in assists per game, six per contest. It's 12th in the country. He hits 1 of 2, and his team inches a little closer. You're going to hear a very loud response if Stout makes a rally in this game from the fans who are right in behind us, who are waiting for something to cheer about. Your team down 16. Extended minutes here for Glenn. Still continues to run the point. There's Lester for 3. No. And Christie battles, but a nice job controlling the glass by Justin Thomas. Another chance for Stout. Pull-up jumper, Thomas, no. Rebound, controlled. Stout for three, no. Right back to the man who shot it, Thomas. And the Devils will get a third try. Free throw, no. And they won't get a fourth as Spear gets clobbered, knocked to the floor. And then, boop, a trip. And
might have missed one there.
Keith. Layup is up and good. Oh, yeah, that wasn't a foul. That was just that was inadvertent, but works out to the Blue Devils' benefit.
A whole lot of inadvertent collisions on that play.
55-41, and the Lutes nearly throw it away.
Here comes the noise, too.
Yeah, Andrist wanted that one to be called, that the player who touched it. Oh, tough call on Andrist. Yeah, it's a technical foul on Andrist, who says, don't tee me up for that. I think Andrist's point here was that the guy who touched the ball launched himself with his foot on the sideline.
You just can't afford this technical foul at this point in the game. I know there's much to be unhappy about, but you've whittled this thing down to 14 in a limited possession game. Stopping the clock, PLU gets 2 freebies here, and they're right back in action.
Yeah, with the ball, 57-41. So Andrist, who's got some interesting off-season activities, is the head coach of the Qatar national team twice. He's won 2 Asian and Gulf country championships. Now, would the Philippines participate in the Asian and Gulf country championships?
There's so many different classifications, it's all very tough to keep straight.
Yeah.
You got your smart Gilas, and then the lower classification of that, and there's probably 3 more classifications to take into account. So I'd have to do some deep diving in a lot of those websites. It prompts you if you want to read the page in English or not first. But still a little more momentum here from UW-Stout, and just a poorly timed technical foul there.
57-41 as Stout tries to collect. See, heading onto the court, or heading to their locker room, Whitworth. Whitworth, who for a moment this afternoon looked like they might be playing with a chance to become the top team in the country. Augustana out of Rock Island, Illinois, in a very tight battle with Wisconsin Oshkosh, which, as you can tell from the name, is in the same conference as Stout, as the Vikings hang on to beat the Titans 67-65.
Well, I hate to be the contrary and perhaps be perceived as the West Coast cheerleader, but if Whitworth has a really good showing this weekend, I think they could very well make an argument either way to surpass Augustana for number 1 in the rankings, even though both teams would be technically undefeated, because Augustana, they went out to the Pacific Northwest, had some close ones, and nearly got knocked off today by 2 points.
Fine with me. I don't vote in the men's poll. 57-41.
Hear, hear.
I would say that their NCAA tournament records of the 2 conference bears out the CCIW is stronger. As the Northwest Conference, Whitworth is potential.
Still waiting for that Final Four team.
Yeah, they've been in the national, and they've been in the Sweet 16 or in the NCAA tournament a bunch. But last year they lost a heartbreaker at Emory, and they've had some chances. They've even had some opportunities to host a couple of times, and it has not worked out for whatever reason.
Yeah, by now, Whitworth, you talk about that annual success, but that round of 16, it's becoming more like the Sour 16 for Whitworth, becoming almost an annual barrier for the Pirates.
Pacific Lutheran, not much of a barrier here. They're up by 16, is a little bit of a run for the Blue Devils.
So let's
Shot
see.
Clock down. Glenn for 3, got it! Long shot from the sophomore who, well, he's 5 for 9 on the season from 3, so he's just fine shooting from out there. And Keefe's jumper, no, and Sweeney, just like you were talking about, Stout expend all that energy, and it ended up being a 5-point possession for Pacific Lutheran between the free throws and the 3.
And a lot of it is stuff that's just beyond your control. Your coach who's certainly trying to inspire and, make a case for the team and defend his players on the floor, but still just terrible timing. It erupts right back to a 19-point lead, and PLU carving off clock is what they do best. So this becomes a tough task now for the final 10 minutes of this ball game for Stout.
Yeah, it feels like every 5-point lead is 5 minutes off the clock. If
and
you
really
have a really good run, it's still going to take 5 minutes to do it.
And even when the Lutes don't score and they take these 30-second snippets off of the shot clock, it still feels like a winning possession for PLU.
As a scrum, and Jared Christie getting Dylan Foreman getting pounded into the floor there. He's apparently okay.
And if the fouls is going to be against Wisconsin Stout, that's another 30 seconds that just came off of the clock.
Corey Spear, who's been knocked around a little bit, taking out some frustrations. They're 60-41, 9 minutes to play, and Pacific Lutheran has been comfortably in front by double digits since relatively early in this first half. Pacific Lutheran looking to become the latest Northwest Conference team to go 2-0 at the D3 Hoops Classic.
PLU with an amazing defensive job tonight. They come into this game limiting their opponents to 66 points per game. UW-Stout's got a long way to go to come close to hitting that average.
Work it around. Lutes with the ball.
Single digits on the shot clock again.
Down to 3. Tough shot, high off the glass. A rebound up, and it won't count. Nice follow by Glenn, but he got it off after the shot clock had expired, and also a foul.
So PLU on that offensive trip spent at least literally 60 seconds of game time just on that end of the floor. Now, they didn't get a point, but you're up by 19, so you'd almost welcome that trade-off if you're Steve Dickerson.
Yeah, well, not gonna be enough time, and again, Stout hasn't had this within single digits for a little while now. Wisconsin Stout to inbound. Whoa, here comes here comes Swartzout flying down the floor. And Keegan Dixon drives to the rim. Hank Kujak drives to the rim, and he is fouled.
Brilliant drive by Hank Kujak. Again, you got to dart right to the hoop, and he did so. That only took about 4 seconds of game time.
Well, the twins may not be identical, but they have the same tattoo. You can see it. Well, if you really look closely, you can see it in the shot. Hank has it on his right shoulder, and Reggie has it on his left calf.
Just making me hungrier for my steak dinner tonight.
They've got extra tattoos. I think if I saw correctly, Hank Kujak has the John Deere insignia tattooed on his left shoulder.
Maybe he's a Jerry Sloan fan.
Maybe he's a lawnmower fan. I have no idea. They say there's stories behind each tattoo. I'd be curious to hear that.
Absolutely.
60-41, another foul on the Blue Devils after missed free throws. Increasingly look like it's just not going to be their night here. Whoa. Jeez, Hank Kujak going for the ninja kick.
Looked like some Ronda Rousey action. Speaking of people right down the street.
Yeah. Fortunately, comes up empty. He doesn't hit the ball or the face of the Pacific Lutheran ball handler. But the Lutes retain possession.
I don't know if I've seen that move in the game of basketball since the days of Gary Payton.
Yeah. New man in the game here for Pacific Lutheran. It's Andrew Ardisone from Rockland, California. Number 32, he will inbound. It's Ardisone who played a little bit last night. Ardisone, thank you. Glenn for Ardisone. And no, he is fouled.
Yeah, you got to call that one. There was a lot of body there. Kujak in the middle of the action. Smart drive by Ardisone.
So Stout will get another try early tomorrow against a team who looked beaten in more ways than one yesterday. Skidmore, who came out. I don't know if Skidmore's All-American Alden Mahadujnin will return. As he's, Madujinin, however you want to pronounce it, he has a groin, or hamstring. That's what they were working on throughout yesterday. Missed all of December and played limited action yesterday. And Skidmore looked like a lost traveler without him. So Stout will have another shot tomorrow and early on. A quick turnaround for the Devils. They'll play at 12 o'clock here locally.
Stout, after missing that three-pointer, now just 5 for 16 from deep. It's not helping their cause of getting back into this game, though the Lutes have, in turn, somewhat cooled off from deep, now 8 for 18 from three-point range.
Keefe looking for help. Bounce pass, deflects, and controlled by Ortman. Hank Kujak for Keefe. Lutes have done a good job keeping in check tonight. Reggie Kujak. Floater won't fall. Rebound controlled by Garth West. He's played quality minutes for Pacific Lutheran here tonight. 62-41. Dickerson says, let's cycle through the offense. 17 on the shot clock. 7:14 on the game clock. Ardisone calls for a screen. And here comes Garth West to oblige. Shot clock down to 3. Foreman fires up a shot that's about the first time tonight they've had a late shot clock shot that was really a no shot of going in.
You consider all the rule changes that have taken place, and Steve Dickerson has to be a fan of at least one of them, the elimination of the 5-second call. You wonder if Stout might get closer and try to body up one of these players, but there's really to no avail.
Yeah, the rules you're referring to, 5 seconds on a guy dribbling or not making a move to the basket. Not a violation anymore in college basketball, effective this year. Keefe. Dishing off, shot up and good. Nice effort there from Brett Ossenmacher to push it up and over the rim for 2. Artisoni on a 3-on-2 break with a forearm shiver. But the feet apparently still moving for Reggie Kujak, who will get the personal foul.
You know, Artisoni may have been the beneficiary of that play, as it looked like he extended out his arm and sent his defender flying. And Reggie Kujak.
Pacific Lutheran getting set to bring Jared Christie back into the game as John Keefe heads to the bench for Wisconsin Stout. Justin Thomas returns.
Yeah, and this other factor that makes PLU so dominant at closing down games efficiently, their proficiency at the free throw line, 76% as a team. So perhaps another defensive strategy for Stout could be, we'll foul and stop the clock on the other end of the floor, but PLU has since proven relatively automatic tonight.
Yeah, extending the game is not going to work for Stout here in this one. Thomas. Kujak, tough angle there, got too far underneath the rim. Good defense from Garth West. 64-43. Pacific Lutheran comfortably in front. So these two teams, or conferences a couple years ago, had almost a classic all to themselves. With Ramapo was still here, but of course. But the rest of all the teams are from those two conferences.
And Stout needs more of that kind of defense tonight.
Not that kind of passing, though, as Jalen Patterson catches it out of bounds.
Paging Ted Thompson again, this time for
Patterson.
Jalen Patterson.
Kujak going to head to the bench, as is Brett Ossenmacher. New guy out there for you for Wisconsin Stout, freshman guard Caleb Watkins checks into the game. Also out there for the first time, number 45, Joe Haas, Prescott, Wisconsin. So they brought 18 guys, and they've used every single one of them now. Getting their money's worth.
Those plane tickets got to go somewhere.
64-43. Well, and they've got a big family contingent in behind us, so they give them a chance to watch their sons play. Good pass. What a look. No finish from Foreman, but nifty backdoor look there from big Bryce Miller.
Foreman can't believe it after he could not finish off that play. He doesn't have too much to be unhappy about tonight, however, as Foreman has carried the way, cooled off a bit in this second half, but 16 points, an astounding 4 for 6 from outside.
Get to appreciate why Bryce Miller is the team leader in assists there. Nice look from the big man.
Yeah, he's such a director even when he's away from the ball. It's interesting watching him sometimes when he's combating for position. He's doing a lot of multitasking, directing traffic, pointing his arms out, telling fellow guards to go over here, you stick over here so you can deliver me the entry pass. And even though he doesn't have the ball in his hands and he stands with the ball at the top of the arc, that doesn't necessarily mean he's not factoring into how the offense is supposed to operate for the Lutes.
I think he knew we were talking about it. He was looking at us for a significant part of that soliloquy.
Is it that quiet in here?
Shot on the way, up and good. Tough look there for Jalen Patterson, who gets the field goal, but mostly academic at this point, 66-45. 4:54 to play. When you're coming off a 3-22 season, you're going to play hard for every minute regardless of the score, so I don't expect Stout to let up here, although at some point I wonder if Dickerson will empty his bench. Still got a bunch of starters out there, including that young man right there. That's Christie for another 2.
Probably still thinks there's too much time left in this game, though, the casual observer would probably conclude this one's over by now, but he wants his Lutes to continue battling. The Northwest Conference, it is not for the faint of heart, and it's going to be a grind coming up ahead.
Women's final for you. pair of Lutherans, California Lutheran, 69, Pacific Lutheran 57. It's on the women's side.
Cal Lu continuing to make some noise on the women's side.
Yeah, Cal Lutheran and Claremont Mudscripts will be the top teams in that conference on the women's side this year. Shot up and way off the mark.
And keep in mind, George Fox on the women's side, the number 3 team we saw earlier.
Bulldozed their way through 2 teams, had trouble with the Skyac teams.
And they almost had trouble on opening night at home in Miller Gymnasium, where they've only lost 4 times in about a decade against California Lutheran. They needed Kimberly Frost on a game-winning drive with 2 seconds to go to emerge out of that game by 2 points.
Yeah, as Pat and I said earlier, it's a good thing because, the Skyacs get the Northwest Conference in the first round. So whoever comes out of that conference, they're playing George Fox in the first round. And probably at George Fox. So.
I was about to say, the best teams in those conferences, they already may be campaigning for home court advantage to see if the Skyacs going to host the first round or if it's going to be Northwest teams that force Southern California teams to travel up north.
Yeah, I think I know the answer to how that one's going to break. The Skyac has 2 conference wins, or 2 wins as a conference in the NCAA tournament, and the only time they have not played a Northwest Conference team was when Chapman was an independent. That's been their only other team that they played. Now Chapman is in the Skyac, so they won't even. That's not even an option. They would need a big run from UC Santa Cruz to get in the tournament and help them out.
Yeah, back before they mercifully joined the Skyac, Chapman had a monopoly on that Pool B bid. It seemed like
it was the Chapman bid. Free throw up and good, or jumper up and good for Patterson, who continues to work hard.
It's time to bring out the mop, maybe.
Yeah, 22 points. Still the lead for Pacific Lutheran. Stout's going to bring Mason Elson into the game. He's player number 19. And we only got one other guy on our long list of players who hasn't played yet, Solon Ellis, and he's standing up on the sideline there, so he took off his warm-up, so he may be next.
I wonder what the Whitworth men, we saw them positioned behind us earlier in this game, are thinking, watching PLU. PLU is getting close now to putting together a really good start, particularly, obviously, in the non-conference schedule. They're now looking at a 9-2 start to their season, and could they be primed for something big in the Northwest Conference this year? They were quiet, had a dreary 8-17 campaign, 6-10 in the Northwest Conference. That was good for 6th place, I believe. But this team, a lot of returners back, people lathered up, and could this PLU team be in store for something special in the Northwest Conference?
We mentioned Solon Ellis, and there he is. He's got the ball right now, and now officially we're out of Stout players. So if they play another one, he's not on our roster. As Ellis dishes it off, jumper on the way, up and good. Good look from Luke Murphy, who's checked into the game from River Falls, and Luke Murphy's family apparently in behind us as they cheer for the points there. One thing about these, when the Northwest Conference, as we get a timeout here from Pacific Lutheran, one thing about these games, in the Northwest Conference, same thing in the WIAC, if you're a coach, you don't get to see your conference opponents play in person because you're playing at the same time.
You're watching streaming delayed.
Right, so this is their chance when they all get together like this. This is their chance to actually scout a conference opponent in person. It's a very rare opportunity, but one they uniquely get here. We do have one other player. No, Caleb Watkins has played. Solon Ellis was the last one I did not have. Yeah, he's in the game right now. So he was the last one. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So 16 plus 5 is 21, if that's accurate. That's one way to try and build your program. Everybody plays.
It's also a lot of planning to balance for head coach Matt Logie of Whitworth. He's gearing up for a huge game against Calvin. That's going to be an intense showdown.
That should be a lot of fun. 2 very high-quality programs. Calvin, one of the more storied Division III men's basketball programs. Routinely, they or Hope win the conference or win the overall attendance award.
Viewing parties all over the country whenever those 2 teams converge.
Won't play here, but we will get Calvin and Whitworth in a very, very good matchup to cap off a long day of basketball. 3 on the way, up and good. So teams continuing to fire away. Shane Jacob from Haiku, Hawaii. How about that? I'm not sure what makes me smile more, the fact that he's from Hawaii or the fact that the name of his town is Haiku.
All I can think about is Hawaiian barbecue right now.
If I were super clever, I would have a haiku for you to explain that 3, but I'm not that clever. So 73-50. As Hawaiian triggers the inbounds pass. Dylan DeWalt into the game from Danville, California, a freshman guard. That's him right there. Also, Kyle Sawtell, who played quite a bit yesterday, but a little less here today. Ouch. A little rug burn there for Dylan DeWalt, who sprawls for the ball. Turnaround jumper. Good energy from these guys who are deep on the depth chart from both 73-50. And a timeout for Coach Dickerson, who he says, hey, I want to get all my guys in the floor too, as Casey Johnson will check in from Colfax, Washington. Johnson sporting the Kevin Duckworth look tonight, or Kurt Rambis, or whoever you prefer. 73-50.
Sorry for going dark. I was quickly trying to devise a haiku to describe this game.
I don't remember
PLU leading.
Okay.
Solid team execution.
You need, what, 5
9
more?
and 2.
Lutes win.
I need a two-syllable word.
Lutes win.
9 and 2 strong start.
There you go. You ought to be a sports information director.
Well, speaking of which, I just saw...
If you get a haiku into a Transylvania story, I need you to forward me that link this year.
I'll probably get an email from the AD or the administration saying we could probably use a little more words in your press recap. I was very happy to see Steve Flegel, SID of Whitworth, who his production is just unrivaled. He emailed everybody a 16-page packet before the weekend began in Vegas. I think you could show up ice cold to Vegas. Not recommending any of us do that, but you could call a game based on his information alone.
Yeah, he's Steve Flegel, very, very good at Whitworth. Sports information director there. Ball jarred loose, and here come the Blue Devils. Zach Dahl to the big man. Haas unable to get the shot up. Yep, they do get it up and in. A nice basket there for big Joe Haas. He looked like he could play some football. I don't think he's on the football team, but may want to talk things over. He's a big body, 45. 17 seconds on the shot clock. Even the little Lutes or the younger Lutes run the clock when they come out. Oh, wow, that was a smack to the face there of Seth Anderson. No
I was just mesmerized by Haas's box out there. That was exquisite.
We need him to go one-on-one with the gentleman from St. Vincent. It was another big body.
It'd be quite the joust.
Now that guy plays baseball for the Bearcats, the first baseman and a pitcher.
Makes me glad I'm not a pitcher.
Yeah. Haas. I was sort of hoping. Well, actually, that's not Haas. Excuse me. That's Mason Elson there.
Maybe Little Haas.
Little Haas. That's all right. Condo.
Haiku Haas.
73-52 here. Pacific Lutheran has been comfortably in front since there's about 5 minutes to play in the first half.
There's really good 40-minute long execution by Steve Dickerson's squad tonight. And, again, they just are doing their homework on these teams. So patient offensively. They just do not rush anything when the ball is in their hands.
Solon Ellis. Jumper is up and good. Mason Elson with the basket from Nakusa, Wisconsin.
Do you know where that is on the map?
I've very limited knowledge of Wisconsin geography. I know where Milwaukee is. I know where Wisconsin Whitewater is.
Fond du Lac.
I know where Stevens Point is. Yeah.
Fond du Vegas.
Yeah, well, this weekend, 2 points. The fans here are getting a chance to watch some of these younger Wisconsin Stout players play hard down the stretch. It definitely will not have to hang their heads about effort tonight. Calvin waiting in the wings, as is Whitworth, as they watch the final seconds run off. And, well, Pacific Lutheran last year went 8-17. Unless they have a terrible rest of the season, they will be better than that, because they are 8-2, headed back home to the Northwest Conference. So Pacific Lutheran, very impressive here tonight, and a very nice representation for the Northwest Conference as a whole, who's got George Fox heading home 2-0 on the women's side, and Pacific Lutheran 2-0 on the men's side, and the feature men's team, Whitworth, coming out to play in just a bit. The maroon and gold of Calvin heads to the floor. The maroon and white of Whitworth follows along behind, and we'll get you your final numbers here in just a second. This wraps things up for Pacific Lutheran. They head back to Tacoma, Washington for Wisconsin-Stout, a very, very quick turnaround. They will play in 15 hours. They will play against Skidmore, who's had a day of rest. So maybe you have to rejigger that schedule around next time. Not exactly an even pairing of rest for the two schools. But Stout will come back here tomorrow. And hey, maybe that's why they ran 21 bodies out here tonight, is they know they've got another game in less than 15 hours. So Calvin and Whitworth takes the floor. We're just procrastinating here or killing time while we wait for the final statistics. Pacific Lutheran, a very big game here tonight in the first half, especially for Dylan Foreman. Did not have a big second half, did not really need to. Good first opening minutes for Brandon Lester, who had 7 points. Actually, the whole starting five looked really good. Jared Christie on the glass, Bryce Miller finding different ways to contribute.
Well, we know, I think, if you concur with me, our player of the game is Dylan Foreman. Finishes the night with a game-high 18. Was on fire before the first. Was on fire in the first 20 minutes of the game.
When the game was in question, he was on point. Well, we're going to go ahead and put a cap on this one. Your final score here: Pacific Lutheran 73, Wisconsin-Stout 56. For the folks from Tacoma who tuned in, we thank you for joining us. We wish you luck the rest of the season, or you're welcome to hang out and watch Whitworth.
Check out the neighbors.
Yeah, take on Calvin. That's coming up next. For the folks from Wisconsin-Stout, stay warm, get some rest, and come back tomorrow as the Blue Devils battle the Skidmore Thoroughbreds. Game time, 12 o'clock here local time, so you can do the math on what it is in Wisconsin and upstate New York. For Justin Sweeney, this is Gordon Mann signing off. Back with Dave McHugh and Pat Coleman in the nightcap, the Calvin Knights and the Whitworth Pirates coming up.